Hi Sarah, how you doing?
Hi, good morning. I'm good. You?
Uh, Long nights. So here we are in the morning, but hey, it's well worth it. So I'm here. We're here. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do a quick introduction, and then we can jump right into this. Really interested to hear what you have to say. So for those seeing this, my name is Kyle Thompson. I'm running to become mayor this fall in the Belleville region. Much like our policing video with Police on Guard for Thee, that we've done, I want to do this following interview so many within our community can get a better understanding of a number of things that really are going on within our healthcare system. How we got here, I guess we could say, and how we can possibly fix this, and why some of the suggested ideas that maybe our current mayor and others have likely are going to have little effect, especially after the last couple of years. So today we have Sarah here as our special guest from one of Canada's largest support groups for their field in healthcare, and the organization is called Canadian Frontline Nurses. Sarah, I'm going to let you give and provide a bio for your group as I don't want to miss any important details, but I will ask as I'm uncertain. But I also believe you are also connected to similar groups for doctors, paramedics, and other things as well. I believe, or at least you guys converse back and forth. Is that true?
Yeah, well, we are affiliated and partnered with Canadian Health Alliance. We do work with them, and they have all the health types of health cares with them. So yeah, we have great connection with them. So hi. So my name is Sarah Shijunian, and I'm the co-founder of Canadian Frontline Nurses. And for those of you who don't know who Canadian Frontline Nurses are, we are proud advocates for medical freedom. Our mission is to unite as many nurses as possible, educate the public, and bring the ethics back into healthcare. And we envision a future with a bigger focus on preventative care, natural treatments, and treating the person as a whole. So I, myself, and Kristen started, who is the other co-founder, started speaking out October 2020. So we started speaking out when we saw the harm that the lockdowns and the mandates were doing um, to our, for me, I worked in a nursing home, so to seniors, but to all our communities. And I was also a facilitator in mental health. So obviously it was affecting everybody, children. And we started speaking out. We were actually both fired. We're under investigations by the College of Nurses of Ontario. We were defamed internationally by the media, called domestic terrorists by some. Lots of assaults, threats, even death threats, and we even had the RCMP come knock at our door. So we've been speaking out since. We are not anti-vaxxers. We just think that people should have all the information and be aware of what is going on. The cure cannot be worse than the disease itself. And, the ravages that the lockdowns did for everybody, not just talking about the virus. So we've been advocating since. We want people to have make an informed consent. And now we're actually also moving on to creating, because we don't want to go back into the system, and so we want to create a new healthcare paradigm that's more community focused. So that's pretty much,
The nutshell, yeah, it probably
yeah,
can. I'm sure it'll expand over time too. So, but
yes.
yeah, no, I know what you're saying about lockdowns and whatnot in the beginning there. Like this is all information that a lot of people don't understand that we actually knew beforehand because we had SARS, but we also had other countries that had taken measures in certain scenarios. Like it was strongly, uh, they even in our own pandemic measures up until like literally 2 months before they started the lockdowns or something like that. These were in our um, provincial papers and our national like health advisory, and that we don't do those things. So it is beyond strange. And as you said, in regards to other things, having informed consent and stuff like that is huge. And many people are starting to roll around and start understanding and seeing information coming out, even in their own media, or the mainstream media. I guess that 35% of less of or 35% or less of Canadians actually trust now. But they're starting to come out with the information, basically, or we're seeing it in our courts and stuff like that, that there was no informed consent, but they did say a few things where they can come back and say, "Oh, we told you," but they didn't really. They coerced and they, made up things and stuff like that. And I'm not saying this or that about it, because I'm not anti anything in that regards either. It's just that the fact that the conversations and the discussions didn't happen, and the way they made individuals react to each other, or divisiveness and all that, and it still goes on now, but most people have caught on and said, that's just not right. I'm not going to do it. But anyways, can you help put into perspective from a number of people, or for a number of people, as I don't believe people really fully understand how dire the situation is. Can you let us know how many have left the profession in Canada over the past couple of years for nurses, doctors, paramedics, etc.? Also, is there any way to give us an idea of the different waves or times where many had left within the same time frames, and why? I understand for a portion it was treatments or vaccine mandates, but I think people would be shocked to hear how many left afterwards due to the fact that they thought the treatment of others was unacceptable, or because they themselves had questions or other things as well.
So I think it's really hard to put a number on it, although there are several people now, we're working on it, trying to get numbers, but it's definitely thousands upon thousands of nurses across the country. We know, for example, that one hospital in Kitchener called the Grand River, it's not even one of the big hospitals, they have 250 nurses that were terminated. So you could just imagine that's one hospital in a not such a big city. And then you have to think there's also nurses that retired early. There's also nurses that are on stress leave or sick leave. So there's a lot of nurses that were affected by this. I can't give you numbers for doctors and paramedics, but it's kind of the same kind of thing. Like, we're losing a lot of people. And I think, it was trickling. I mean, I've met now, I didn't know about this before, but I've met nurses that have been disgusted by the industry even before the pandemic that have retired and left. And now that I wasn't really aware of, but now I think, like, as I spoke out, people were trickling. You have to think some nurses were just too scared to die too. So there's the other side of it too, where nurses were like, I'm not going to die for this career. And so they kind of left nursing. The virus hits. So there's many, and it's when the vaccines and the mandates came, a lot of people just left. And that's where the big amount happened. But I think, and people are not aware, I was chief steward of the union where I worked, and staffing was always a problem. We were always short before. So they created this massive shortage. And now they're saying that they're bringing in immigrant nurses when we have a whole workforce of nurses, and these are critical thinkers. These are the nurses on hold, and some of them, I know one of them that's working as a construction worker, and some of them have up to 40 years experience in like ICU, and like these are great nurses. I believe these are some of the top nurses that are not being allowed to come back to work. So big problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. Like, it seems like they've tried to paint this picture that people have left because of the fact of the stress of the virus or whatever. But it has, and legitimately there is some, but it's very fractional in comparison, I think, from what I've heard speaking to other nurses and others in the field as well. It's very fractional at, the first couple of waves of people leaving, that it was based on that. Now, afterwards, it did become, well, it's not even that at that afterwards. It's more just because they're so thin, I guess, with their resources with people or whatever, that they're just like, enough's enough. But like you said, many left, said, screw this, I'm taking early retirement. I don't need to see people mistreated this way or whatever. I don't think there was many that said, no, I just don't want to treat patients because that's what you guys do, and that's what,
Yeah.
you went to school for. So it was more based on the treatments of individuals and some craziness going on. But a lot of people were told it was just because of the stress of the virus itself and the amount of people put in there. Like you said, I know that the hospitals certainly needed help before then, but certainly they absolutely do now. And I've heard the idea of bringing in foreign nurses and doctors and whatnot, and it's just, it's almost like forget you know, like it's pretty disgusting actually. And the language barriers and all these different things, that process takes time, and um, yeah, I just don't see it working very quickly or being very effective because we have different regulations and different ways to do things. Like you said, there is a ton of individuals out there ready to come back to work, but we're going to need some help apparently uh, doing the logical and ethically and morally correct thing. So here we are. But I understand or can see that a lot of health heads or select number of hospitals admin tend to navigate or put on a different view of the situation, as I just mentioned in the hospitals. They did it back then, and even with the shortages or situations today, they're still doing it today. And the public can sense that something is not right. Do you believe or know if you still have a lot of support from coworkers that did remain within the system? From what I've heard, many disagree with things and that have happened, and many need to stay to pay their bills, as many of us do. Um, but I'm just wondering if the support's still there, or from individuals that are still working in that, and uh, would they be welcome to seeing you guys back as well, for the most part? Because I really believe it's a small portion in there that's talking to the media or talking to certain individuals that are saying, "Hey, let's, we've got to take this different approach and forget those people."
I think a lot of them support us. There is still a quite a big, because you have to think in nursing or in the medical industry, we're very programmed to think that that's the best way. The science is like, this is the way
Mm-hmm.
you do it. You heal people with medications. This, technology and the medical industry is very advanced and they know what they're doing and the trust is fully there. There are quite a bit of those nurses, unfortunately, that are not seeing that, hey, you got into nursing to help people and now they're using you as a tool to actually harm people.
Mm-hmm.
But you are right, there is a big fraction of them that are, and more every day, that is like, this is not okay. They're seeing the effects too of what's going on, the effects of the lockdowns, like mental health, but also the effects of the supposed to be vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
who, like, there's injuries coming, like they see it, like there's an increase in heart attacks, increase in everything, cancer, strokes, all kinds of neurological reactions and stuff like that. So a lot of them are aware, and they were put in a situation where they had to choose between their career and not feeding their families, and so they stayed, and they were coerced into taking the vaccine, or some of them were even fine with taking it, but are very aware that this is so wrong. Why are you getting rid of, one of our greatest nurses, or one of our, you know what I mean? So there are a lot of people inside that are on our side, but way too scared to speak. I mean, look at what's happening to us. I'm going into 7 days of court, starting November 7th to the 16th. The CNO is bringing in experts. And what's happening is that they're saying that I'm going to have to pay their costs, which could be in the hundreds of thousands. So they're making examples out of us.
Yeah.
And it's like, who wants to go through this? Not many. So they're still very quiet, but there's a lot of people on our side.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely, more and more on top of it,
yeah,
right?
and like you said, like I think it was for the when they dropped the air um, or the travel bans and stuff like that just a few weeks ago. I saw the lawyer that was involved with that, and I thought it was funny because he was not. I don't think he was permitted to speak until after the Trudeau government came out and said something. So of course the Trudeau government comes out and says our experts have said this when there really was no experts, and trying to spin this in their way sort of thing. And then he came out the day afterwards, the lawyer, and of course it's not on mainstream media, but he tells you to go to the certain government pages for the court case that was within government or whatever. And yeah, they part of the issue or the situation was a few things. One was is he brought up the fact that or he had the individual who was apparently the equivalent of the NIH in Canada or something like that, where she had to openly say, yes, you know, this is phase 2 of the trials or whatever, and informed consent really is not, you know, necessarily something that's occurring because we're still in the experimental phase. And that's not reassuring to a lot of Canadians that are, you know, if they were seeing this or if they go onto and see the court papers, they're going to be like, what the hell did she just say? But mind you, it's been this huge psychological thing, and it's very difficult for a lot of people. And certainly we're going to have to help a lot of people through this. And some people are going to have to come to some realities in that. Um, it's just time. It needs to happen. And, you know, especially when you're seeing like that, like I said, that court case happening and then mentioning that, the various other things, the girl, the delegate, I guess, with Pfizer, I think it might be over in Europe. But of course, it was done in English and it was spread all around. Haven't seen much of it in Canada yet. Few independents or whatever, but her basically saying, yes, absolutely. You know, we've never ever done any testing, or we didn't do any testing to release this product, but we never did any testing in regards to seeing if there was if it stopped transmission or not, which was the whole basis of letting everyone go. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked to another lawyer, and he said, yeah, if you base it on fraud, everything follows as fraud. So he said you're going to watch your city halls, your labor unions, your various other things. There is going to be a mess of cases. A lot of them have already started, but it's going to be a mess. So, but anyways, we all know that big government has its hand in every sector within our towns, and I often hear mayors and councilors say it's the government's fault or area of jurisdiction. At what point do you feel that the mayors have a moral obligation to their community if in harm's way, where they should step up and take action against these things, or at least stand up for the essential workers, not just for them, but also for their public that so desperately need them and their skill. I heard our mayor say this job, you know, or that his job is to make sure the streets are swept and services are kept up, and suggested anything beyond this such thing is something that he just would, if he tried to make choices in it and changes, he would end up getting fired by someone else, I guess. I find this interesting considering now that, you know, apparently he can do everything else, that now there's an election going on. He can fix all of our problems, right? But I just find it weird. And you know what? Maybe it is a situation where, yes, you can get fired for standing up for, you know, others within your areas where larger governments have jurisdiction. But I think that's something that the public expects of you, to have a moral stance at least, and do your best to bring attention to that and try to protect not only those individuals and their rights, not whether you agree with them or not, but also protect your citizens in this case. Because if you're gone and your hospitals are, you know, broken, what do, right? Like, I don't know where your view is on that, but yeah. Do you think they should have the right, or is there anything they can do to actually jump in between the federal and provincial government to kind of make this work?
Well, I think mayors have a big responsibility of speaking out as soon as they know, and everybody in every sector. But as a mayor, you're taking a leadership role for your city. And the people are looking at you. You are definitely someone who should speak up right away. And if you do get fired, that's fine. You continue and you find other ways to get the word out, and you know, and at some point, hopefully, justice will be served. And you know, the people that did stand up and speak up for their communities, you know, will get justice and be rewarded. But I think saying that I'm here to sweep the streets and like that is, you cannot,
Yeah.
that's why people don't trust politicians.
Yeah.
Because then when it comes time for them to be reelected, they could, like you said, they care about everybody. So no, I think as soon as you're aware, I mean, some people were really literally not aware of what's going on, then you can't expect them to speak up. But as soon as you know something's wrong, you don't keep your mouth shut to keep your position, or like that's not what people voted you in for.
Well, yeah, I realize that. I've had some people, it's funny, I talked to some individuals where we went back through that conversation and they said, well, you got to understand the situation and whatnot. And I would say, yeah, I can understand the stress of the situation. I can understand the pressure and everything like that. But I'd say to him, I said, maybe you're right. Maybe your neighbor does deserve to lose his house, or his kid deserves to, God forbid, hurt himself, or people deserve to do all this because that's too much pressure for anyone in that position to be able to stand up and say anything. But it's okay for them to watch everyone around them suffer, right? And he's like, yeah, and then he started thinking about it. And he's like, yeah, that's a pretty disgusting thing to do. So he actually admitted right in front of me, he's like, maybe I got to reevaluate how I look at things. It was really interesting because he was really going the way where, self-preservation and, this is the way we think as
Yeah.
people and this is the way we should. But then he started realizing that he's like, man, what am I doing defending someone that, you know, actually went this route? And no, it is not the right way to go. And this is the way that society is going to go if we keep going this direction. So yeah, it was interesting, but I'm glad to hear that I'm not confused and thinking that my morals and ethically I should stand up and do the right.
Yeah, absolutely. And people say they're doing it for self-preservation, but they're lying to themselves because you know it's wrong. And
Mhm.
therefore your body know you're holding tension, like there's no integrity. And when you're doing something wrong, you're not healthy. Whether you know it or not, your body is not aligned. And then you start having like illnesses that come in and all kinds of things. So it's not even we're not aware of it because the medical industry doesn't teach us that way. But when you're not aligned, we're so disconnected from ourselves, which is a big disconnection. That's
Yeah.
you
We,
need to
we,
reconnect, and
I
that's how you stay healthy.
yeah, I believe we will get there, and I think there'll be. I think we're almost at a snapping point where people are like, "Look, you know what? The conversation's never going to go away. So it doesn't matter what I believe. At least got to start having the conversation." So, and then they're gonna, some will realize some pretty horrific things, and then others will be just kind of like, "Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we should have saw this coming," or whatnot. But and like I've always said, I could be wrong as well. But until we have those conversations and everyone's on the same page, because I'm not going to argue about it. You know what I mean? Why would I get
Yes.
into this huge argument? You're set in stone in your direction. I'm, have my opinion or whatever. There's nothing going to change a lot of people's opinion until you have those experts and those individuals sit across from each other and really explain what happened. But they at least know something's, not right. So
Yes.
but anyways, it's apparent that our mayor and a number of councillors and others don't want to discuss the situation that took place with their, we are once heroes, and instead they hope that we all just forget that you didn't even exist. I just want to let we don't forget, and that the majority of the public truly understand who the real zeros are in this equation now. So um, it's amazing. I just can't believe these individuals have done these things, or at least did them without even conversation with the public and let them understand why they felt their feelings were a certain way and how they addressed other people's in this situation. But currently, right now, our mayor and even our past Liberal MP who is running for mayor, which happened to be a mayor before, and a number of others elsewhere across Canada are trying to sell the public on the idea that incentives, school reimbursements, and such things are going to fix the shortage problems when it's not a tomorrow fix. I don't think there's any problem with doing those things, but they want to sell it because it's election time and that as, hey, here's our fix tomorrow. And you know these people, I don't know, I don't want to be pushing through our healthcare individuals through schooling and that, and making courses shorter, and cutting out pieces of it when we really have the experts that are out there right now that we could be bringing back into the fold, that are willing to work, that there is absolutely no reason why they can't be. But I think we're still going to end up being short because, as you said as well, a lot of them are going to say, you know what, I would not touch that system until it's fixed or until some certain changes have happened. But I know you guys are actually approaching something different, which I'm excited to hear because I think it's a different option for healthcare. So do you mind letting everyone know or talk a little bit about the certain part of your support group and where you guys are going in a kind of a different direction with healthcare as well?
Absolutely. So as I said, we don't really have an interest in going back in the system. We feel like the system does a lot of harm. And as we came out, we've met so many people, like everything is literally curable. And a lot is hidden from us. And as you can see, and you saw through the pandemic, no one's talking about prevention and real health, like taking care of yourself, right? So we're really all about, like I said, coming out of the system and like getting people care back into the community. So getting people out of hospitals, out of nursing homes from birth to death. Because I don't know if you're aware, but giving birth in a hospital is now more dangerous than giving birth in the community. And why die within four walls surrounded with staff when you can die at home surrounded with your loved ones, all your belongings? And why not celebrate life while you're still alive and help the person transition in a beautiful way? Like, we need to change our perspective on a lot of these things. Also, Canadian Frontline nurses, we don't believe in the patient mentality that the medical industry has. So when you're a patient, it means you're a victim and that you're flawed and that you cannot help yourself, but you need something from the outside to come and heal you. We don't believe in that at all. We believe that people, your body can heal itself. People are active participants in their care, and only when the person is ready to heal can that person truly heal. And we're here to empower people by educating them and guiding them on how to do that when they're ready to do so.
Yeah, it's a
So
lot. Sorry, it's a lot like maybe I'm getting this wrong or whatever, but like when you get into physiotherapy or whatever, it's very little about the drugs or whatever, and it's about your choices that you're making or the movements, I guess, and stuff like that. Is that a fair way to kind of look at? I know it's much broader than that, but if someone's trying to look at what you're saying there, which I think is pretty simple, but some might get confused and say, are we talking about some different whole type of health system or whatever, or is this just something that people need to actually realize they can do themselves?
well, we're creating a new paradigm. We're a lot
Yeah.
about holistic health too. We believe because a lot of these synthesized drugs that we take for chronic illnesses that don't like everything, all these chronic diseases are curable. And there's natural ways to do it. And when you're taking synthetic drugs, they're drugs. Your body is not supposed to have them in it. So even though it's helping you with one thing, it's actually causing trouble and problems somewhere else. So we're all about like a lot of preventative care, showing people how to take care of their health, showing them that, when you have a cold, that's your body detoxifying. You're actually healing. And you can't suppress these things like your cough. Your cough is taking things out. We show people how to build their immune system, be healthy. And when you're sick, you don't necessarily. So yeah. So for me, I'll continue, and I guess you'll get it. So we have two types of membership. We have so we're looking for nurses, obviously. Some nurses want to keep their licenses and keep doing the conventional care, but they're offering it to the communities.
Yeah.
That's great. We take everybody. Obviously people that join us have our kind of mindset, right? Where people should have an informed consent. They should really know what's going on with them and empowering them to heal themselves. But we're also trying to get nurses to find their real true purpose and passion in caring for people and offering it to our communities. For example, I'm very big on mental health. I've created Lighting Up Dark Corners. I recovered and healed myself from fibromyalgia, which the industry says they don't know how to heal, cure.
Yeah.
and they make it worse by giving us pill because it's all about toxicity.
Yeah.
So it's really about going back to your health, a lot of trauma, right? So I had a lot of trauma in my past and I got some help. I completely changed my life. I started facilitating groups. And that's when the pandemic hit. And I was like, these people in mental health, like it was detrimental to me, to my mental health. So you can imagine people that weren't in a good place. So I now show people, give people the tools and knowledge to go back to the root cause of their problems when it comes to childhood trauma and heal themselves without numbing and taking toxic medications that are killing a lot of people.
Yeah.
And disconnecting them even more. Like trauma is disconnection, and we're just we live in a society where we're so disconnected. And so I just show people and give them the tools to how to reconnect with yourself. And once you do that and you're aligned with yourself and stand in your truth, you become very powerful, very empowered, and your health like gets better on its own. Like it's really, so that's what I'm doing, but we're trying to empower nurses to do the same. So we have certain courses for them and discounts and all kinds of things. Like we have the birth companion course. We just had the nurse advocacy course for nurses that want to be advocates.
And this can be easily integrated into communities and stuff, because this is all this takes no outside interference from our government or whatever and stuff like that. So that's great. Like,
in any way.
And I know there's a lot of individuals out there, and maybe we're getting off a little bit of what I was going through, but that's all right, because this is something that we should see more of going down the road. Is that obviously we're going to have those individuals that work in our hospitals and stuff like that, and they're going to take the the route that's best for them and whatnot. We absolutely need those individuals. We need them desperately in our area, and but the option, you often hear a lot of people go back and forth and seem like they're trying 20 different drugs over like a year and a half point as they're trying to figure out what the balance is best for them. And meanwhile, there's a lot of, like you said, natural things that could be, solving those problems. Or you hear people saying, I don't want to take, my meds because they make me feel this way or that, right? And yet there's really not an option out there to find something else that might mitigate or help the pain or whatever it might be. So to have, individuals like yourself and others within our community or whatever, these are great options to have for people, because they just need something different, and there's no other option out there. And the unfortunate situation with our pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that, if you're not a customer, well, they're out of business. It's so true. Like, I know they create some great products and stuff like that that really do help people, but they're on this constant mission to create more and more of other things. And, I think people are becoming more and more aware. Yeah, it is a business, and it's really kind of sad because it's a business and it involves our lives and our children's lives and our parents' lives and everything like that. So it's a strange world, but I think it's all coming around, and it's going to be a good thing in the end. And you guys doing your thing really certainly helps with that. I did have another question. Um, actually, I think we covered quite a bit or whatever. Is there anything you want to say, or is there any questions you think I maybe missed here?
No, I just wanted to add. So I spoke about our nurses, but we're also like our whole thing is for people to become independent of the medical industry and independent and empowered to take care of their own health. So we also are looking for like public members, and it's $50 a year. Obviously, they have access to our directory, and we also have nurses that are creating hubs, like connecting with like doctors and other healthcare workers. And hubs are like clinics, but kind of like for people that don't want to go into the hospital, people that are not vaccinated, people that are now not trusting hospitals, right? We have that, but for the public, like I said, we want to make them independent. So we have like workshops. For example, my workshop, how to recover from fibromyalgia, is free to public members. Healing from childhood trauma 101 is up and free. So we want to have, Kristen has an emergency kit, natural emergency kit workshop that's coming up on there. So there's a lot of things to make people independent, but we're going to have links. Like if you have a urinary tract infection and you don't want to go to the hospital, or you don't want antibiotics, you can click on this link and there'll be like a video telling you, hey, You
Oh,
know, you can,
nice. Is this on your
eh?
front? Is this on your Canadian Frontline Nurses, or is this going to be on
Yes,
the?
CanadianFrontlineNurses.ca, so people can become public members. And obviously it's a long-term project, but that's what we're going to have. We're going to have links like
Okay.
that. If your kid has fever and you don't know what to do, you know, and
Hmm.
you don't want to go to the hospital, this is what you do. And we also have webinars where people come and teach people. You know, we had Chris Beat Cancer come onto our webinar, or, you know, teaching about how he healed himself of cancer. Or we had a doctor, Dr. Amir Schneider, who was born blind, who now has a California driver's license, who came on and gives us tips on how to fix your eyesight. And he swear everybody's eyesight could be fixed. I don't know. But like a lot of people, you know, we had Dr. Kamal Prit, who swears any type 2 diabetes can be cured, you know,
Hmm.
naturally through diet. And he comes and people can ask questions. So it's really about empowering people to become independent and understand their bodies and, you know, their care, you know, do their own care. So there's a lot of that going on too. I just wanted to add that, you know, because we have to empower each other. Our bodies are amazing.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. You know, because like I said, as we're going through this stretch, and everyone's short on nurses, doctors, and every paramedics and everything else, we're gonna have to, you know, it's a good time to reevaluate how we maybe do a few things, you know, from a
Yeah,
personal level, right? Because I'm not sure if you're gonna get the right answer from our hospitals and stuff like that right at this moment. I'm not saying the individuals particularly in there, but maybe from the higher ups, which push everything down. So, because there's a lot of great people, you know, obviously still working in there. But, you know, I just want to let your organization know that if I should win mayor, I'll be reaching out to you very quickly because I want you guys to know that there is going to be a place for you here. I will do everything possible. I will find corners to cut around to make things work. I will just simply make it work because I do not feel that our public should be left in a situation where they're in harm because we just don't have the urgent care in individuals here. And I also don't believe you guys should be, you know, treated the way obviously you were treated. There's several people in different areas as well being treated this way, and it's got to stop. It's got to come to an end. Never should have started in the first place. We all know this, and I will gladly put my job on the line or whatever to ensure that I can stand up for people that deserve it, and also for our community, which desperately needs the assistance from you guys. We've always been short on doctors and nurses in our area, and it's a booming area. I think it's one of the biggest growing areas, or the fastest growing, I guess, in the last little while. Don't think it's going to continue to go at that pace, considering everything going on right now. But we certainly have an increased population that's going to need more people. And seeing our emergency rooms closed down at certain times and not open, that is just craziness. Yeah.
that is, that is, yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much, actually. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you, and best of luck with your cases there. I know they'll go well, but they'll make them difficult for you just to try to make you sweat. Don't worry about it. Just just breeze through it. You know, I can't believe they just want to drag this stuff out.
Yes,
All
it's
right,
fine.
Sarah.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate this. Take care. We'll talk soon.
You too.
Okay,
Bye.
goodbye.